Welcome to the Field of 68 High School Recruiting Pod. Tobias, do you like that? Do you like that show title? Because we don't have a title right now for this high school recruiting show. But what's your thoughts?
It's not bad, but I like how you came in intro. I feel like I was in a movie. Like I feel like I was about to go watch, I don't know, one of the Avengers movies or something. I got ready to do something real quick, but no, you
Yeah.
probably can find like a creative name to do it though. But for now, I think it worked.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So basically, I need to change my profession. I need to get into more getting into stuff like movie, over voice
Yeah,
acting. I don't need to be in this
yeah.
basketball business, crazy ass basketball business.
No, no, they make a lot of money, man. I don't blame you.
No, for sure, for sure. Now we're here. With me is of course Tobias Bass of the Athletic. Darius Acuff. He just announced today that he's going to Arkansas, play for Coach Calipari. That's Coach Cal's first 225 commitment. And Tobias, just want to get your thoughts on Darius, the fit, his game, just your overall thoughts on him going to Fayetteville.
Really like the fit. I think that he's a typical, Calipari guard, especially in their dribble drive offense. But I think it's one thing to note that Calipari, his most successful teams are when he has two NBA caliber guards in his backcourt. You know, he had a Harrison twin and Booker. He had Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard. He had um, Deron Lamb and Marquise Teague on those teams, such and such. John Wall and Eric Bledsoe as well. So he's the first piece into helping getting back to that. So, he had two of them last year. Who will be the next guard that he signs? Is it, does Boogie, he has a whole year to play, but does he come back as a sophomore? Does he get someone in the portal? But I think this is a great starting block for Cal, especially getting his first commitment in 2025.
No, for sure. I really like Darius. I got to see him a decent amount this past year in the Scholastic at IMG, and
Yeah,
then this season, this spring with the family. Really good with the ball in his hands, dynamic with the
yeah,
ball, can really score. Can really score it. I really think he's at his best when he's mixing the playmaking and the scoring,
yeah,
right? But he's a gamer.
yeah. He
I
is.
like
Yes, he
guys with
is.
an edge. You can tell he's someone that drops 30 points, 10 assists, and he's not doing a whole lot of yelling in your face because he's just like,
Yeah,
that's expected. I'm
he's calm,
like,
calm, calm.
I'm
Yeah,
supposed to do that. But I think, like you said, the names you mentioned, I think Acuff fits really well with Arkansas and how Coach Cal just really likes his guards. And, there's guys just, before him that really got into the NBA out of it. But there's a domino effect, I feel like. Now that
yeah,
he's committed to Arkansas, what do you think that does for players like Darren Peterson, Malik Thomas, right?
right.
Is it a done deal for Darren Peterson to go to Kansas? I know Arkansas was in the mix with Malik. Now does he go to UConn? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you will see a domino effect. So for Arkansas, I think this was a big shift for them. So now I think you're going to start seeing maybe a couple of these kids probably start flying off the board in the near future. Because I think at the end of the day, it might have just been a race to see who was going to commit first out of those guard, out of those upper echelon guards. So now Malik Thomas, I know Arkansas is involved. So is UConn. I know he went to visit UConn pretty recently. So I think that he may end up at UConn. Mikael Brown's another high level guard. Does he go to Texas? There's a couple other schools in play, but Texas is really trying to. They've circled in on him for the last couple of years. Caden Lewis, where does he go? Kingston Fleming. He has a couple of visits set up with Gonzaga and U of H in Texas in the very near future in September. So where does he end up? So I think you're going to see a nice little, domino effect of all these kids committing pretty rapidly. I think so.
Right, because Acuff was rumored to be going to Kansas for the longest, right?
Right,
So
right.
now that he's going to Arkansas, you know, Darren Peterson, even though it's not a done deal at Kansas, I know they're in the lead. That's
Yep,
been the word out that they're in the lead. Ohio State's making a really big push. And again, like
yep.
Malik Thomas, UConn, does that change things? Obviously, not saying those guards can't play together like Malik and Darius or DP and Darius, right? But they're probably going to want to have their own show in
Yeah,
a way.
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
speaking for them, but just ideally that's just kind of how it goes. So I feel like you said, even for those guys, I think their decisions maybe a little bit more clear. And then for other
Yeah.
guys like Kingston, Lewis, all those guys, I think now you're starting to get a clear look of what it looks like, especially from the point guard position.
Right, right.
So, big time for Darius. This is a big time commitment, really just overall like a 5-star kid, committing this
Yeah,
early, a top 10 player in his class and arguably the number one player, point
yep,
guard in that class. So, now we're gonna kind of move forward a little bit. I want to talk about, we're from Texas, right? I'm
yeah.
I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
now became a Houstonian like for
Yes,
about 30
sir. Yes,
days.
sir.
And by the way, we have to grab lunch. Like we're 20 minutes from each other. We have not seen each
Yeah,
other in
facts.
Houston. It's
Nah,
messed up.
bad. I know. You see,
I
I've seen you in different states more than I have in my own city. That's crazy.
well, 100%. I blame my wife for that. She keeps me really busy, so I'll blame her for that. I can't ever get out the house.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm playing. So Texas section. I want to talk about Jaden Toombs, the big fella from Dynamic Prep, plays for Drive Nation. I know it's for the longest always been Texas Tech's in the league, or it's a done deal to Tech. And
Yeah.
talking to the kid and talking to his circle, that's not the case. Um,
Right.
he talk, it's really SMU and Tech, and Alabama's getting in there.
Yeah.
They're throwing themselves in the mix, and they're trying to fight for it. But I'm interested to see like how that all turns out with his recruitment. I know everybody said it's a done deal to Tech, but SMU. SMU's finding hard in there, and
Yeah.
then Alabama is too. I just kind of want to get your thoughts. Where do you feel like is not necessarily where he should go, but just what do you think is a good how does he fit in each school? So we'll start with Tech, then we'll go SMU, and then we'll go Alabama.
Well, for Tech, they're gonna for just a normal, right? There's not that many good bigs just in the world, right? Especially now they're 17, 18 years old. So it's gonna be a premium on getting them. We see the transfer portal gives and taketh away. So sometimes there may be good bigs in the portal, sometimes there may not be. So if you can get a younger big like a Jaden Toombs early, get him in your program, develop him, I really think that helps. So as far as for Tech, they have Federico. I think he's done after this year. Toppin, I assume he's going to have a monster year. He's going to be probably a first round pick in 8 to 10 months from now. So at that point, you don't really have any other bigs at that point. So you're going to need to try to get you one in there. He's from Amarillo, an hour up the street. It makes sense for him. For SMU, I mean, they've done a phenomenal job developing bigs at previously staff at USC, but that same staff, they've done a phenomenal job. Some of them are in the NBA making money. So I think that, and it's in Dallas, where he's from, where he currently lives now. So I think that with it being close to home, how they developed bigs in the past as a staff, I think that really does, help translate. And lastly, with Alabama, they have some good bigs in the team, Stevenson and a couple others. Some of those dudes may not even be there. Stevenson could have a monster year this year and be out, right? So they're going to need to be able to replenish and get a couple more bigs so they can try to bring it and build up the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you talked about with Toppin, he's expected to be there only for a short while, then be a first
Yeah.
round draft pick in the NBA draft. Jaron Stevenson, that was a big time that they got him
Yep.
back. He's another
Yep.
kid that has a chance to be a first round draft pick. I like his fit on all three. I'm interested to see how it all goes. I think SMU's making a really big push
Yep.
for him, and like who I actually like for him? I know they're not really
Mm.
recruiting him. Purdue.
Mm. Hmm. I mean, they got Daniel Jacobs up there. He was phenomenal at the under 18s this past summer. So they do have him, but I can see. I mean, they're another place. They've done very well with bigs in the past, and I can definitely see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's what's going on with Jaden. So it's a fight in state SMU and Texas Tech, and you got Alabama just trying to
Yep.
get in the mix
Creep
and
in. Yeah.
make things a little interesting. So let's talk about the next one, Kingston Flemings. I know we have
Mm.
talked about him obviously as a player, fantastic, athletic, gets to
Yep.
the rim, has really improved as a shooter, plays with I always say this, he plays with the edge about him that just really makes some
Yep.
sense. All right. And that just makes him go. And he just impacts winning on both ends. And,
Yep.
you know, Texas Tech, Houston, I think Texas is in there. Gonzaga, I guess he's gonna take
Yep.
a visit to Gonzaga. Just kind of
Yep.
give what's the update on Kingston Flemings?
So he's gonna visit Texas, U of H, and Gonzaga, I believe, in September. but also Auburn and Alabama are also trying to creep back in there. I know Auburn's been trying to do a Zoom with them, and Alabama's trying to creep back in as well. So those are another two schools to keep an eye on for Kingston swimming as well. But I'm a major fan of Kingston. I think of the top five guards in this class, he's probably the best all around. If you just grade everything about his game, he's probably the most all around. He's long, athletic, fins, vision, etc. Shooting, we know about the shooting, what he's working on, and he's shown that he can make shots. But as far as his recruiting, those are the schools that are heavily involved at this moment.
Yeah, no, I know Houston has a considerable lead. Let's make sure this mic's on. I
Right.
just want to make sure this mic is on.
Yeah.
This might be a little goofy on me, but yeah,
Yeah.
knowing Houston has kind of, I heard Houston's in the lead for the
Yeah.
most part, but it's not a done deal. Like you said, Texas, Gonzaga, multiple schools are just really trying to get in there. I keep getting calls about him, like, "Hey, honey, do you think
Yeah.
we can get in there?" Like multiple, like Power
Hmm.
Five guys, or what is it going to take? In the world of NIL, they're like, "How much
Yeah.
does he need?" I'm like, "You got to call his dad. Like, you can't call
Yeah.
me. I can't tell you a
Yeah.
number that ain't right." But
Right.
it's just crazy. A little side note, it's just kind of crazy that now it's like, okay, we want to get on a kid. How much does it take for us to get in the kid? Not like building a relationship or,
Yeah. Yeah. That's what
hey,
it
I
is
know
now.
someone that knows them. No, what is the number to get in? But yeah, no, Kings has been fantastic. Had a really good year. Like we talked about the shooting some. I think he's one of those guys when the game's on the line, he's just gonna make shots, right?
Yeah.
Like he just
Yeah.
becomes this prolific shooter, especially when the game's on the line. His bread and butter is really utilize athleticism, get into the rim, the pull up shooting, the floater game. But man, like when the game gets on the line, like he just really makes shots. He's such a
Right.
confident player.
And he made a big three, I believe, in the Puma circuit to advance him to another round. I think he made it at the buzzer. So he's more than capable of making shots. And then if you look at every other box, he checks all those off. He does everything else. So I mean, I think there's a chance he at the end of the day he could be a McDonald's All American and end up taking that number one point guard spot. I think it'll be an interesting finish for those top 4 to 5 guards in this class.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's in the mix. He's in the mix. I know
Yeah.
our boy Jamie Shaw had him number one as a
Yes. Yes, he does.
PG,
Yes, he
and
does.
I think he makes a case. There's a definite argument.
Absolutely.
I think anytime there's an argument, it's not unfair to have someone you between
Right.
him, Michael
Definitely.
Brown, Darius Acuff, like who we talked about earlier. I think there's no problem with them being in there, however way you
Yeah.
want to rank it, because they're all three really
Right.
that good.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So now Shelton Henderson, uh, Bel Air High School,
Yep.
JL3, always was Houston for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Now Duke,
Yeah.
is it a lock to
Yeah.
Duke, Tobias?
I don't think it's a lock, but it's different when Duke calls. It's different. You got to sit up in your seat a little bit when Duke calls. It's definitely different. We know about the family connection there as well. But I think it'll be a sprint to the finish line. With Duke and Houston. I don't think he set an official date for Duke yet, but I know he is going to visit them at some point. But I think it's just going to be a race to see who gets him at the end. I think he's a phenomenal player. Got much better. Got to watch him for the last 4 or 5 years and he's just gotten better each time I see him. So I don't think it's a lock, but it's just different when Duke calls, man. It's real different when they call you.
It's completely it's really different. And then obviously like JL3, like I mean, we're not
Yeah,
let's address the elephant in the room. You got JL3,
yeah,
John Lucas. Then you got Jay Lucas at Duke.
yep, yep,
It just there's a lot of interesting dynamics. Obviously, at the end of the day, the kid and his family is going to make the decision, right? But
right,
I have heard that they are torn between the two. Like they're torn between
yeah,
like do with the U of H or Duke, right? Obviously,
yeah,
Texas guys may be in a bias where we maybe
mm,
want to see him in Houston so we can
yeah, right,
drive up
right,
30 minutes
definitely,
and still see him instead of
definitely,
having to see him on TV or maybe once a year. But I think
right,
he has really he's earned the opportunities he's had. He's a big guard that can really defend, athletic, grown man strength. With the jumper, it looks it's a little funny, but it goes in. It goes
yeah,
in, and he's a gamer, and I know he'd been tired from like USA and this like school season jump into the spring and stuff. But I know in the beginning of the Peach Jam, he was playing through an injury and no excuses,
Yeah.
and he didn't give himself any excuses, right? Like he played through it. He had some bad games and he kept going and going and going and kept performing. So, for a kid like Shelton, who I would say a year ago, he didn't have, I mean, obviously it's just not just two schools. I mean, obviously a lot of schools went and offered him, but to have those two options a year ago, he didn't have.
Yeah.
He wasn't getting seen like this. He wasn't getting looked at as someone that could be a potential burger boy. He's put in a lot of work. He's gotten healthy and yeah, man. I mean, just we're excited to see kind of what happens to him next, where he decides to go, especially when he makes this commitment.
Yeah, and I'm definitely excited to see him. Like I said, I just remember watching him as a freshman. I mean, there's a true freshman. He had Jacob Cole on his team, who's currently at Oklahoma, and he was really, really like carrying those teams to a deep playoff run. And then just from there, jumper's gotten better. He's always been the big kid, but the vision he can have, he can play multiple spots. He can guard multiple spots on the floor. And you talk to those guys at JL3, they think very highly of him. A lot of people in the city think very highly of him. So I think he has a real chance to be a McDonald's All-American, and he'll be the first McDonald's All-American since I believe 2017 or 2018. I think Quentin Grimes or Jared Vanderbilt were the last one. So he has a chance to
Houston.
really, yeah, in Houston, he has a real chance to be the first one in a long time. So hopefully we'll see if he can get there.
Absolutely. No. No, that's crazy. That's crazy that the city of Houston has not had Mickey D's
Right.
kids since 2017,
Yeah.
2018.
No.
But
Crazy.
that's a whole nother episode. We'll we'll get to that. We'll get
Yeah.
to that another day.
Yeah.
Um, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna do some recruiting, like I would say recruiting rapid fire. Just some updates or some guys
Yeah.
that I really enjoy watching the spring and summer. That I just want to kind of highlight. So I know we had a question on the last episode with me, Jeff
Hmm.
Goodman, and Rob Doster. By the way, me and Jeff Goodman were seeing like eye to eye in our comps and the players we want to highlight.
Mm.
Still processing if that's a good or bad thing. But
Yeah.
I gotta keep thinking on it. I gotta let some days keep going by. But nonetheless, Cam Boozer was the one that was asked about what's going on with recruitment. Obviously, Miami,
Yep.
Florida, Duke. Still hearing Miami's in the lead. Duke, I
Mm.
heard has made a big push.
Yeah.
It could be Duke. Obviously, it's not going to just be Cameron. It's going to be Caden, who are both high major basketball players, and have
Right.
it and will make some money playing basketball. So Miami right now, that's like the safe thing that that's what it.
Yeah.
I would say right now with Duke making a really big push at it, and um, it can go either way with those two schools.
Yeah.
With him,
Yeah.
Koa Pete, Arizona here right now. I know Texas, U of H,
Yep.
they're in the mix, other schools, but right now I'm hearing Arizona's in the lead. But King Grace,
Mm.
he's starting to kind of doing those lists. I think he has a visit with LSU pretty soon.
Yeah.
Coming up, but Mississippi State, a look
Yep.
at like SMU, TCU, Texas A&M, those four. Obviously, he has other schools like Cincinnati. Uh, it's a school that's really been on him. But I
SMU,
would look
Oklahoma. Yep.
Oklahoma, yeah. But I definitely like Mississippi State's been in there for a while. Um, have built a really strong relationship with the kid and his family.
Yeah.
SMU, they just got there, but they're willing to do what it takes. And TCU and A&M, and and King is a kid, in the family, like they like to be kind of closer to home, right? Obviously,
Yeah. Right. Right.
that doesn't dispel like a Mississippi State, but I feel like the local teams still have a really good chance
Yeah.
at him just to keep
Right.
him home.
Right.
I know it's big for that family that goes see him play, but I really like
Yep.
Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is really tough in there, and they've been there longer than anybody.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. They
so
have.
and you got him, and then MJ Harper. This kid from Judah Nation. Um, Joe Watson played like 6'3". He's like a quick twitch guard. He's young. He's a
Mm.
225, but he'll graduate at 17. He goes to
Wow.
Process Academy in Florida and watched him. Very interesting player. Holds an offer from Liberty. I think his recruitment should be bigger than what it is. He's also someone, if he reclassed, I could see him being, like a top 100 kid in the country. That
Yeah,
was someone that it's just interesting just watching a guard twitchy like that, gets to the rim, finish, capable score, capable shooter, and just that young, like guys that
yeah,
graduate at 17, you always wonder like their best basketball is obviously ahead of them, and they
right.
may not be done growing, and all that. So MJ Harper for sure, someone that I just want to highlight just an under the radar guy that I think is better than his recruitment shows. And then you got Christianak, LSU right now.
Yep.
What I'm hearing on him, and I think LSU, considerable lead, but I think things can kind of change on that. I know Houston's obviously in the mix. Like, I mean, every kid
Yeah.
we named so far today, like U of H,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
in there.
yeah. When
Shout
you
out to
won as many
Kellen.
games, yeah, when you won as many games as them, yeah, you have a new access of plethora of players now for sure.
Right, right. No, absolutely. So, Tobias, you have any like recruiting notes on some guys, across the country, locally? What you got for me?
So Hudson Greer, he's going to take a visit to Alabama, UConn, and I believe Creighton. I believe he's going to take those visits over the next month or so. He's gonna do that. Um, Jay Leverett, new big from El Paso. He's going to visit New Mexico in August. Nigel Wall, I know he's trying to set something up with TC. I think he might have already set it up. I know he's probably going to plan to go visit them out there. SMU's also trying to get in the mix. He's a kid who I think he was really good at the TABC. I think he has a chance to maybe down the line be a pro, especially go to the right school. 6'11", can really shoot the ball, versatile on both ends of the floor. I think he has a real legit chance as well. I mean, we're
Yeah,
starting to just see kids is all over Jasper Johnson, etc. They're cutting the list down. I think you're starting to see kids just commit more. I think a year ago, it was last year, the year before. I think by December 1st, it was over 80 top 100 kids were already committed before December 1st. I think it might have been a little bit higher than that. So I think you're starting to see kids who are just hopping off the board, like Acuff today. He's coming off the board. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot of kids just cutting lists and committing over the next probably 60 days or so.
right. No, absolutely. I agree, and I think we'll see some of the same stuff. Like a lot of majority of those top 100 kids, committing to committing early in December. Only
Right.
they can wait late, but especially for some of them, they want to see how these teams play, how these teams utilize their
Yep.
freshmen, who's going to stay and go, especially with the portal. But you also don't want to wait too long in that process, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't
Right.
wait till they
Definitely.
completely like add
Definitely.
their whole roster and then I want to go here, right?
Right.
So I think we see the same stuff. I also want to highlight Chris Newelly. He plays for Oakland Soldiers. I know what gets talked about the most is Tyron Stokes and AJ Devanza. I really like Chris, like this undersized four-man, big time athlete that like he's guarding the best player. Like I seen him
Yeah.
guard Caleb Wilson. I've seen him guard Brandon McCoy and Peach.
Yep.
Like he's versatile. The jumper, he's not going to
He's
make a
getting
lot of
better.
threes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not going to make a lot of threes, but he's just active. He's athletic. He rebounds. I think he's like a mismatch at the four. And I'm just kind of he's just interesting. Like I like kids like him. They're the ceiling that people project on them may be too low, because
Yeah.
they just look at an undersized four that can't shoot. But I think
Yeah.
he'll manufacture some of that throughout the process.
So I think that he really helped himself, especially in the peaks those last couple of games. He was guarding the best player. He did make some of those games. I think he was making multiple threes, so he definitely helped himself. And then the biggest point, I think, people got to understand, basketball has changed. You look at the college and the NBA level. They aren't playing those big lumberjack fours anymore. Some of them are undersized. I'm not comparing them to an NBA player, but you look at several teams, the playoff teams around the league, they're getting wingy type players and putting them at the four. They want to. It helps defensive versatility because you can switch on every screen, and the mismatches on offense. So I think that he's a player that he's fitting into that new mold of basketball, and I think that really, really helps him. He grew up in the right time. You know what I mean? And then last thing on Hudson, he's visiting Alabama, Arizona, and UConn. That's where he's visiting. Alabama in September, Arizona and UConn in October.
Who do you feel like is in the lead on that, or who do you think? What's the few schools you think just kind of have a jump on him right now?
I mean, I think he would be really good at UConn. I mean, this is what they've done in the past 3 years. I mean, back-to-back national championships, guys were put in the NBA. But if I have to just bet money, probably Arizona. They've been recruiting him probably the hardest for the longest. So I think I could see him probably going to Arizona.
All right, perfect, perfect. The Tobias, I appreciate your time. It's early. I just came back from U of H practice. They had this 6 a.m. practice. Uh,
Mm,
but like, it's the grind. We get after it. Guys,
uh,
appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone's time just listening in. And this is the Field of 68 High School Recruiting Pod. Unofficially, that's the name. All right, y'all.